You need to understand that your employer thinks enough about either the program and or you as an employee to pour into you and make a change.
Hello out there. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Business Gold, a business leader's journey. Today on the podcast, we have Ashley Wright of Right Level Leadership back with us. He's here not so much to discuss his business as much as the leadership training that he offers. He's going to discuss some topics and strategies that we as business leaders all can benefit from. Thank you again for tuning in, and with all that said, let's go ahead and turn it over to Jen.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Business Gold, a business leader's journey. Today we have back with us, as promised, Ashley Wright from Right Level Leadership, and he has some super exciting topics to actually talk about today. When we first started our adventure with Business Gold, Gray, our producer, and I told you that sometimes we were going to do some teach talks, and today is a teach talk out of the John Maxwell Leadership series, and we are super excited to have you with us again, Ashley. Welcome.
Honored. Yes, it is a pleasure to be here again today.
This is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a little different than we normally do, but we told our podcasters that we were going to do this from time to time. It was going to be more of a teaching session. And we are super excited that you have some knowledge that you are going to share with us today. What's our topic going to be about?
All right. So during the last podcast, you asked me a question about really what Right Level Leadership offers. And we talked about a couple, but we didn't get around to all of them. Yes. So when you asked me to come back and do a training topic, one of the things that I have just been, number one, just totally fascinated about, but I do think it is a very valuable service that I can offer clients, individuals. Really, it's wide range, and it is a program called DISC, D-I-S-C.
Okay.
And it is a personality profile study around behavior profiles and how that links to how you relate to other people in conversations, in families, in businesses.
Yes.
All those things. So I just thought this morning I would kind of talk about that, talk about the service,
okay.
Talk about how this can be integrated into everyday life, into businesses, into families, that kind of stuff. Kind of talk through, I'm not going to get into all the sciences of it, but I mean, the more that I do the profile summaries with people, kind of a debrief is what we call them. Mm-hmm. And more I talk to people and the more I get the feedback and watch the lights come on, so to speak, when people kind of connect these dots that people sometimes, and I have been amazed at this, that people have just never had the opportunity to do this. And it's so important to know yourself. You know, I mean, John Maxwell talks about to grow yourself, you got to know yourself. And if you don't know anything about yourself,
where do you start?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I have actually done a profile like this before, so I know how valuable this is. One of the big things about this is once you know what you are, it helps you to relate to others as, okay, these are my strengths and weaknesses. This is what I like to do. This is who I am. And it helps you put your place in business, in life. And then you're able to look at other people when you know theirs, and you're able to say, okay, that's why that person does that.
Yep.
That's why that person is like that. And it all kind of, the pieces start coming together.
Yes.
So that's what you're going to talk to us about today.
Yep.
Super excited.
Yep.
Let's jump into it.
All right. Very good. Well, if I came to you and said, Jennifer, I've got something that would do the following. It would enhance relationship skills with you. It would gain a greater sensitivity towards others. If it would maximize personal strength. If it would resolve internal conflicts within your personal relationships and professional relationships. It could enhance teamwork among others. It would help others develop a positive self-image. Not talking about personally, but just someone knowing this, their self-image could change for the better. Assess person's nonverbal communications. Identify how and why people make decisions. Reveal root communication problems. Develop focus on motivating teams. if I brought you that and said, I've got something that can help you with that and others, I stopped reading the list there. Would you be interested in something like that?
Absolutely. That sounds like that encompasses a lot of things within my business of who I am and how I work with other people.
Yep.
And I work with tons of people, not just clients, but also vendors, and I put all of those people together. So absolutely, that could help me.
Well, as part of Maxwell Leadership, Maxwell Leadership has adopted the DISC profile analysis as their tool that you become certified through Maxwell Leadership. So it's a pretty intensive study on the DISC profile program, how to administer it, and then the knowledge that I have as an instructor or as an administrator is when you take the questionnaire, and I'll get to that in a minute, when you take the questionnaire and you get your assessment back, it's not just a one-page here, this is your information. It's like a 35-page booklet that comes with that gets into you as a person. It looks at it from 3 different perspectives, and I'll get into all this kind of as we talk about it. But it even gets down into communication do's and don'ts, a growth profile, a growth opportunity that you can do. So all this is in the book that you get just by taking or getting a key code from me, going through the profile, and then getting this assessment back after you answer questions. The whole thing takes probably 12 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
It is a timed assessment. So basically what it is I give you a key, you log in, all this is done online, and it's just a series of questions that you ask. And, probably the biggest thing there is to answer these questions right off the top of your mind. They want the honest, well, I'm not going to say they want.
First thing that comes to mind.
Exactly. That's the best way to answer these questions.
Right.
Because if you go into this with an intent, you can shade
sway
the way
results.
It comes out, right? And honestly, that's not what we're looking for. We want you as a just true human being. How do you feel about things? There is no right or wrong answer. There is no right or wrong profile that you have. So you go through that, and then at the end of that, it takes a little bit of time, but then you get a score, and then on that score, you get what do they call it? It's a key word towards your personality. So like mine, I came back and I was an SC. I'm a high S, a little bit of C, and my profile keyword is peacemaker.
Okay.
But the cool thing about that, and I have done since I've been certified in this, and I've gone through. So I've done the Myers-Briggs. I've done the I think it's Tom Roth. Strength Finder, or is Tim Roth? I think it's Tom Roth Strength Finder, but that is a book that you can go buy and take an assessment. Again, it's timed, and it comes back, and it's tied to Gallup. That's where the information goes, and Gallup has a lot of stuff around that one. But I share that with you because the information that I have gotten in DISC aligned with my Myers-Briggs. It aligned with the Strength Finder. So it's very convicting
accurate
to me. Like it or not, that's what it is.
That's what it is. It is what it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So from that standpoint, I have been reassured that the DISC profile, if taken accurately, if taken as intended, there's a lot of information in there that you get to come back to help you as a person. So kind of the process is, after the assessment is done and the values are assigned to your profile, you get this booklet, and then we start the process of either a one-on-one debrief or a group setting. I've done both, and both are very impactful. Both are very, very useful. But you look at strengths and weaknesses. So there's 4 profiles that you get. It's a D, an I, an S, or a C. So the D profile, or a personality profile, is dominant. So those people are outspoken. They make decisions. They can dominate a conversation. But they're the more, I guess,
aggressive personality.
Well, that's
my
a good
husband
way.
would say you're a D, Jennifer.
Own it, right? But yes, they're more aggressive typically in that. So you get the I. And so that's the D. And then you have the I, which is inspirational. So those people are generally the life of the party. So they're very outspoken. They're very just joyful, you know, and they come in and they don't necessarily want the relationships to go really, really deep, but they want to be friends with everybody, and they just want everybody to like what they're saying. They like what they want them to feel the energy they're bringing to a situation. Yeah. So those are the I's, and then you get to the S's. Now the S's are what I call kind of the grassroots of a organization or something like that. They make up the biggest percentage of the population. They're like 69%.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a good thing, because these are the people that you want on your team that or that are on your team that want teamwork. Okay. They want give me the direction, let me go do the work. They want to see that the end result is done. Yes, there you go.
I have beehives, so for me that would be the worker bees.
That's exactly right.
Bees.
Yes, that is a great analogy. So those are your S's. Like I said, they are the biggest percentage of your population. And typically speaking, if you have an organization, if you look at your profile across the organization, then you are looking at those people just kind of doing the grunt work.
I gotcha.
And then you get to the C's, and they are the compliant people. So these people are your systems people. They want the data. They want to make sure that the information they're gathering is true, fact-oriented. They are looking for just leave me alone and let me do my work.
And then let me go home. I'm gonna the 8 to 5. Let me come in at 7:59, and I'm gonna leave at 5 o'clock on the dot.
There you go.
Those kind of people. I get it.
And sometimes that's not necessarily true, because they are the people that will stay up until 11, 12 o'clock at night trying to prove a point, because they want to keep digging. Okay. And they want to keep digging. And they want to keep digging. And it can be a fault to them because they just want to get it right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So if you think about a team dynamic, whether it be professional, personal, whatever, if you knew on your team or in your group what personalities were present, how they were going to be part of the conversations,
makes a big difference. Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Right. And what we talk about in the training is, all right, so now everybody around this table has their assessments. Talk to me D's, talk to me I's, talk to me S's, talk to me C's. Tell me what you're feeling in this group. And a lot of the times it is so convicting, like the people just can't get over, like, I took this assessment and
it nailed
everything I'm talking about, I do. Yes. You know, I had a gentleman in a training not too long ago, and I started giving examples of the C personality, and the example I gave was typically when you go to these people's closets, like when you open the door, the shirts are hung to the left, your pants are to the right, the shirts are in some kind of colors across the dark to lights, shoes all turned, heels back, toes out, this kind of stuff. And I could just see this guy sitting in the back of the class, and he was just like, oh my gosh. So then we started talking about the professional side of things. And I was like, and your C's are typically the people that when you walk into their office, there is absolutely nothing on their table or their desk except for a computer, maybe a glass of water, the pen, and everything else is up and in the drawers. That's all they want to see. And he was like, oh my gosh. So it was convicting for him. And after the class, he came up and he's like, this is really, really impressive that how questions answered through a computer generated system can give me something that is so dead
accurate.
On. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the fun things like that when you get a chance to see the end result when someone kind of sees this for the first time. And I don't think I think he had seen some of this before through other personality assessments, but it was just one more thing that just kind of solidified in him that's what it was.
Right.
So the process when I come in and the value of the DISC personality assessment is, so now you have your style.
Right.
And then we start talking about how this is valuable to the team. Because just like we talked about, the personality traits have strengths. They also have weaknesses. They also have a side of them that can be very detrimental to a conversation or a relationship. So let's just talk about D's, for example. We joked a little bit about it being very aggressive, but have you ever sat in a conversation with someone and the conversation ends and you think, what just happened here? Because the other person just seemed very put off, very angry, very out of touch with what the conversation was. And I didn't say anything wrong to that person. And I don't think I said anything that would have made them mad. We're just having a conversation.
Right.
Well, if I'm coming to that person as a C and I am a high D, all I want's the facts.
Right.
I don't want all the details and the data. But if I'm coming to you as a C and I want to drop this book on your desk to say, here's all the information, me as a D, all I'm looking for is give me the bottom line, give me what I need to do, and I'm going to go run with it. You know? But in that conversation,
something got lost.
Right. And you're frustrated because as a D that I brought all this to you. I'm frustrated because I'm a C. You're not appreciating the work that I did. We just talked about me staying up till 11 o'clock to find how a decimal point moved one side
Makes
over.
a
I can't
huge
figure it out.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in this, the frustration in the conversation sits. And if you don't know that you're a D and I'm an I, and I'm a C, and I'm coming to that table of the communication or the conversation, and there's a level of frustration there that's just unknown. The intent of a DISC profile or the study within a group, even an individual, because what I've seen is people that come through the debriefs or the conversations about the DISC, now they're armed with, I can start reading people,
Yes.
And there is something that intentionality. That is such a big word. I bet when I do this training, I say the word intentionality 900 times. And it's not because I want to belabor the point. It is because everything that we talk about from DISC takes intentionality.
Right.
If I am going to come to you, and let's just say you don't even know what DISC is, and you don't really care. If I've gone through the class and I've gone through the study, and I'm armed with the knowledge that not everybody is the same and people are different. If I know even just a little bit about some of the history and the 4 behavior profile types, when I come to you in a conversation, now I'm thinking, all right, Jennifer, she's the leader. She's very, very results driven. I've never really impressed her with all my information, so let me just try something. Let me get to the bottom line. Let me just get the gleaning off of all the work that I've done, staying up till 11 o'clock looking for the decibel. And I'm just going to give that to Jennifer. And I'm just going to say, here you go. This is my work. 1 pager. Here's the results. And let's see how that goes. A lot of times what people will find is now that person on the other end of that conversation appreciates the effort, the intentionality that I did, because now, and they may not even know where that came from, but because I have that knowledge now, I can start talking to you in a different way. And you may not even know it's happening, but you're going to appreciate it because I know how you want that information. I know how you want that conversation to be had.
Exactly.
So that's the value of knowing what your profile is from a DISC profile, how you can apply it to, everyday conversations. And it's not even one of these tools, which I think is super cool. It's not one of these things, if you've got an organization of 300 people, all 300 people have to be armed with this knowledge to make a difference.
Right.
You can get a nucleus of 10, 15, 20 people to start and start getting into the organization, having conversations. And really what I would like to see is if I'm in a conversation with you and you notice something different about that, someone's going to say, what why is this different? For years, you have come in here and you have frustrated me, but something has changed, you know?
Because you know how to communicate now.
Yes.
At a different level.
Exactly.
It's not just speak back and forth. It's like you said, it's an intentional, I know this person is like this. I know how I am, and now I'm going to work on both levels to make sure it comes through correctly for you.
That is exactly right. Yep.
Yes.
We're going to take a short break to hear a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
The Hive at Lavender Estate, the sweetest place to be in Sumter, South Carolina, just off of North Main. Contact us at lavenderfieldestate@gmail.com or find us at lavenderfieldestate.com.
Greybird Media is your one-stop shop for videography, DJ services, and photo booth. Let us be a part of your next event. Find us on the web at Greybird, that's gray with an E, graybirdmedia.com.
Thanks to our sponsors, The Hive at Lavender Estate and Greybird Media. And now, back to our show.
So that's why I think it's so valuable, and that's why I think if you were an organization wanting to make a change, and let's just face it, communication is the crux of just about every single evil that we get into.
Yes.
For years and years. You know, when I was working in the manufacturing world, you know, everybody would talk about the lack of communication, and you know, we don't communicate this and we don't communicate that, and it did become kind of this easy kind of crutch to throw out there of communication's terrible. Mm-hmm. But if you could improve that on a one-to-one level or a small group level, or just the way that you interact with different individuals in your, you know, in your immediate surrounding,
Right.
how much better would the culture be?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing is, and I try to talk about this in some of the trainings that I have with people, is when I am an employee of an employer, and we're sitting here doing this, before we even get into, you know, kind of the meat and potatoes of the training and start doing all the interactive stuff, what I try to paint the picture of is you need to understand that your employer thinks enough about either the program and or you as an employee to pour into you and make a change. You know, there is a knowledge somewhere or a feeling somewhere that things just aren't right, and I want to make a change. So one of the steps could be is to help the communication issues, and maybe they're not even issues, they just need to be improved, you know?
Right.
And this is the first step to that. So that's where I think the value in the DISC and even just small pockets of people within an organization being trained on this and having that knowledge can really change the overall culture of an organization.
Absolutely. I've actually seen this used. My uncle, who is my mentor, I've talked about him before. He does it within his company, and he does one that uses animals because him and his wife love animals. And it is so funny to me because I go to their office quite frequently and I know all of his employees, but it's very funny to me because like there's one girl in the office that's a parrot, and like she really is a parrot, and it's hilarious. And then my uncle is an eagle. Yes, absolutely. I see that in him. He is an eagle. And when I see those two type of people, the two of them interact with each other, I can see the differences. And I can see how they work together to get through issues. Because you think about, I guess it would probably be like a D would be an eagle. What would a parrot be in the disc? Probably an I, maybe.
Well, your parrot would be your I, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, life of the party, likes to talk, all that kind of stuff.
So I get to see this D and I interact all the time. And I see within their company, like when the guys come in and they're talking with the office staff, I can see what great communication this company has. And again, he's one of those people, my uncle is one of those people where he believes in his people. So this program, when someone comes in and has this done for them, for their employees, this is somebody who wants to improve not just the company, but quality of life.
Yes.
Communication that is quality of life. And that's what I love about this program. And like you said, there's a lot of them out there, but we all know Maxwell is, he's top notch, has great learning materials. So they would just get in touch with you. You would come out and talk to the employer, get something set up, and then the employees would come in and you have this meeting, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The process, because so me as the administrator, we do have a individual key for it. So the way the thing works, I have kind of the initial meeting with people to figure out, okay, how many people we're talking about, and so the things that I like to know is what are their current roles, job titles, whatever. Are they a leader of a group, or are they being led by someone?
Right.
And then once I get that, then, I'll get an email address. It's easier to manage this through email because, like I said, everything is online. And I will get an individual key for that person. And I will email them. I give them all the directions they need. It is super, super simple. And like I said, I think the whole process from opening the email to getting your result is about 10 minutes.
That's amazing.
So, and then, I will give that person the email. Now they are, kind of time sensitive. So I have to guard that time because they do expire. So if someone's having some trouble or whatever, I try to stay in touch with those people. But I get the results back when those people take the assessment. So I know when they're doing them. So
you know what they are before you even go into the training.
Yes.
I love it.
So that is kind of
That's
key.
That's a little sneaky.
And people only on the podcast will know that because I don't share that information.
Well, we're now going to see who watches our programs.
There you go. So I get the assessments back. And the way kind of I like to do it is I will figure out what the dynamic looks like in the group. And it has been very interesting to see how the groups have changed because, when you talk about, I didn't tell you about the other ones, but the D's are like 3% of the population and your I's are, trying to get my numbers right, 17% of the population. S's are 69. And then C's are the rest, whatever that is. That may be the 11. So you would think if you went into a group of employees or church group or whatever, you would think if it was really over 10 people, you would think maybe that would play out across the group. But what and I probably should have seen this coming, but one of the things, it's the roles that come into the group. Because the first time I got this, man, it was like they were all C's.
But were they all the same, like management or the same? Did they do the same exact job?
No. They were in different roles.
Wow.
But they were in different roles in different areas and this kind of stuff. But most of them had the same level of responsibilities.
Gotcha.
But they were there was all C's, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this going to go? Because when you get into a group setting, some of the best training and the communication is when you have the population as it should be. You got the D's, you got the I's, you got a bunch of S's, you got the C's, and then watch how that
plays out.
Yeah, because you'll see the D's over here, and every time you want to do a group setting, the D's will be, okay, come over here. Let's get this thing started. Let's do it. All right, well, there's your D's, And the I's, they want to get up and have the coffee and they want to talk to people on the way back from coffee. And people are I'm trying to pay attention and you want to talk about football. And, the S's are kind of sitting there and, they're doing their thing and they're looking at it and they're like, okay, he just said we got an assignment. All right, what do I got to do? All right, now I need my group. Let's get this thing done. And the C's are over trying to draw straight lines with a ruler. I'm like, that really doesn't matter. Let's just get on with it. So you see this played out in a group. But when you have a mix that may not be or may not meet the ratio, so to speak, it's interesting to see how the conversations in the room, there's a lot of self-reflection in that, because maybe just in that training session, you don't see all the flavors as much because everybody's slanted towards one thing.
Right.
So, it's hit or miss.
How does that play out in a business that has mostly all one group? I mean...
So I would say it is very dependent on what the business is or what that function is. Because we all know that if I am very strong in something and I'm very weak in another thing, for years, everybody said you need to go work on your weaknesses and make them better. But what happens in that is that your strengths start to
fall away.
They stop being strengths really, because I'm working so hard over here on trying to improve something.
Right.
Well, the best way to do that is to hire somebody, When I'm not a good accountant, I don't need to go get a 4-year degree in accounting if that's not where my value proposition lives. Right. I go hire me an accountant, I may know a little bit about accounting, but I'm not going to be an expert. But if I go find an accountant and they come on my staff, now we're starting to, every time I talk about the scenario, I think about the Jerry Maguire movie, where she says, you complete me. But really the DISC knowledge is getting a company to the point where you complete me, really.
Right.
I mean,
where you're aware
yes.
of what each person's personality, each person's job strength is, then each of those people can work together to make the company strong and hold better.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that we do in the training is we talk about how the different profiles like to work together. So the D's, they are phenomenal go-getters. They start stuff. They're usually the idea, someone sparks an idea and they're like, that's a great idea, let's go run with it. But 9 times out of 10, they don't follow through to the end.
They only get to the 50-yard line,
right.
And they're ready to pass it off.
There you go.
That's
that
right.
is so important.
And then who do I pass it off to?
It's these S's
it's those
down
S's
here.
over there.
Because
that's right.
that's where they're wired, So if I've got a team of D's and nothing's getting done and everybody's getting frustrated and no one's kind of realizing what's on the team, that's a bad dynamic,
Right.
There's a lot of frustration on that team.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to have one to complete the other, And most of the time, that is a healthy relationship. You've got the D's leading the way. You've got the I's really being champions of it. They're your cheerleaders. They're the rah-rah, let's go get this team. And now your S's sit in here and say, okay, how many people do I have to work with? What am I going to do? And start thinking about the process of how to get something done.
How to get it to the end.
And then you got these C's over here that's going to say, okay, let me crunch the numbers. Let me figure out what we need to do. And I will feed it to the S's. That will empower them to do something. Right. Now we start seeing some momentum. We start seeing some changes in the way a project may be going. Now you got your eyes, they're starting to see some good things. So now they're starting to get fired up because now they start to see some change for the better. And we can start seeing some of that goal line coming in.
Yes.
And now the D's are feeling good because, hey, my team, I started this thing. We're ready to go. It's starting to take momentum. The S's are starting to take it over to the very end. I moved on to my next greatest idea, right?
Yes.
That's what D's do. But that's the way it all works together. So you asked, how does a team come together? Well, a lot of it is they may feel it, but you may not know it, and if you go through the DISC assessment and people start to kind of figure out the why behind why are we frustrated or why I can't do this or why nothing gets finished around here, because I don't have any S's on my team. You can start putting the pieces of the puzzle together on that, just armed with that knowledge,
Right.
So I think another couple things that are very important about the DISC assessment, because I don't like training that is just going to be a book to set on the shelf or a pamphlet that's going to just be handed out and then you put it in the desk drawer and you're going to be you're not going to mess with it.
Right.
The nice thing about this is there is a personal growth plan that goes along with your profile.
Okay.
And I go through that with the people that I do the training with, because there's one thing to know about what your profile is or how to use that, but it's another whole thing to be able to say, okay, how am I going to use this? How am I going to leverage this as a strength? And one thing I meant to say this earlier is it's not a box. So your D, I, S, and C is not you forever. There is a whole dynamic that changes. So if somebody is brand new to an organization, let's just say within the first year, and they're trying to figure out everything about this, their profile is going to be very streamlined, very compact, and they're not going to have a lot of dynamic to how the D and the I, the S and the C play into what they're doing professionally.
Right.
If you've got somebody in an organization who's been in a role or been with a team for 15 years, and maybe they've even moved around to different capacities on a team, their profile, because they've got such confidence, should be very dynamic. Like the way that they interact and show their strengths to a team should be very defined.
Right.
So I share that with you because things can change. So if someone's your profile, if you're put in another role, it may require you to be more of a cheerleader. And over time, your I can actually creep up. And some of these people think, I had never thought that in my life. I'm not ever the rah-rah person, but they get in that and they start seeing some benefit to it and they start seeing some change and they really like that.
Right.
So then that starts to grow in them. So part of the growth plan that comes out of that in the back of the book is, what are you going to do now that you have this? You're a high S, little bit of C. What are you going to do to really promote this and help others in your organization, in your family? You know, I talk a lot about the organization, but family, one of the things we talk about in here is, when you go on vacation, who likes to plan the vacation? Does somebody feel good about just getting in the car and going, or do you have to have the checklist?
Yeah.
Who do you think has the checklist? They're the C's.
They're the C's, that's right.
Who wants to go have a party, and everybody that they run into on the beach, they're going to be the I's.
Yes.
So it all plays out in everything. But now with the growth plan at the very end, you can kind of self-reflect and say, okay, is there something in my family that I need to be aware of? Is there something in my organization that it could be a source of frustration, and where do I need to change that? So an employer could actually use this as let's just say an individual growth plan.
Right.
So you have the profile. You sit down with that person and what are you? How do you like this? What do you feel like your part on the team is? Do you feel like it suits where you are? And based on the outcome of that conversation, then you can say, all right, well, let's work on either moving you into a role that gives you fulfillment. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to have an I being part of all of the disciplinary action on a team. The I's, all they want to do is root people on. Right. They don't want to terminate somebody. They don't want to be, yeah. So with that knowledge, okay, let's try to move you over here. Let's try to put you in roles where you can be fulfilled. As an employer, I can think of nothing that would make the team more dynamic and moving in the right direction. But as an individual, and we're all trying to create cultures where people feel confident in what they're doing, and just they want to be valued and they want to feel like they've got a piece of the puzzle that they can own and really change.
Yes.
And I think that's where the value is. So this could be kind of long term. You could look for a 6-month or even a year development plan based off of what you got from your DISC assessment.
I've heard people say there's a bus and make sure, you can be on the bus, but make sure you're on the right seat on the bus. So that's kind of what you're saying is, as a employer, I can make sure each of my employees are in that specific correct seat for them.
That's correct.
Yep.
Personally,
Personally, I'd be on the short bus, but that's okay. That's okay.
That's
I'd probably be driving the short bus. But it does make a difference whether you're on or off the bus. It's just like you can be in the company, but you can just be sitting there doing nothing, or you can be using your strengths correctly in the company to build the company, build relationships, and that's basically what this is about.
That's correct.
Putting people in the right places.
Yep.
And making sure that they communicate correctly with the right people the right way.
Correct. Yep.
That's basically, and that is, you do that when you go to the grocery store.
Yes.
I mean, that is basis of everything we do every day.
Yep.
And this gives you just the awareness to be intentional with who you are and talking with other people. And I love this. This is a great idea.
Yep.
And there is no way that any company can tell me this wouldn't be beneficial, because this is huge.
Yeah.
Emotional, the way we talk with each other, the emotional, it's just a very, very needed thing in every company. So I'm super excited that you have this to share on Sumter.
Yeah. Yep.
The meat and potatoes, as you called it, of this is so interesting.
Yes. Yeah. And the more, the more I get into it, the more I learn about it, the more I grow within DISC. And then, the thing when you get in these conversations and start hearing people's kind of testimony, so to speak, around this. It just validates everything that you're learning about it. I learn something from every group setting that I'm a part of because of the feedback and just kind of, like I said earlier, people connecting the dots in those conversations is really, really neat. But you just kind of get a dynamic of how this is applied across the board. So very, very cool. Yep.
I love it. Okay, so they can reach you where at?
So phone number, and best way to do it is probably just going through email, which is ashley@rightlevelleadership.com.
Okay.
Send me an email, and we can schedule a time to come to. Like I said, I never like to do anything without some kind of a discovery meeting with someone going into a team, so I can figure out, what are we trying to do here?
What are we accomplishing?
And if this is the right tool to do, that this is a great kickoff, because out of this can come so much from, growth and leadership and those type of things, just because you know this now.
Right.
So, yep.
Right. So I know you have more knowledge to throw on us, so I would like to say that, Ashley, I hope you're going to come back again and give us another Teach Tuesday.
It would be an honor. Yes, it would.
Awesome. And so everybody, make sure you go and you see Ashley and get your company going in the right direction. This is huge. This is very valuable, and we're so thankful that he shared it with us today. So thank you for joining us for another episode of Business Gold, a business journey. Have a nice day.
That's it for this episode of Business Gold. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure that you tune in again. We release new episodes every Tuesday, so definitely come back. And while you're here watching on YouTube, make sure you click that like and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and reach out to us at podcast.businessgold@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.